The Terrifying Willow Tree. Chap 1. In a small village where time seemed to pass slowly, there was a countryside nestled beside a tranquil river. There stood a large willow tree by the river. In the darkness, the moonlight gently illuminated the village. The calm river flowed through the village, but the scene was tinged with an eerie atmosphere by the large willow tree, its branches twisting like ghostly figures surrounding it. In recent years, mysterious disappearances began to occur in the village. Children and elderly people vanished mysteriously at night, leaving no trace. The mysterious disappearances of the elderly were somewhat understandable to the villagers. They thought it might be a coincidence or due to old age and health issues like dementia, leading them to wander off. But when children started disappearing strangely, fear began to spread. Parents could not hide their anxiety and confusion over their children disappearing mysteriously without leaving any trace. Empty homes and the absence of children playing on the streets made the atmosphere grim and filled with dread. Then, the young men of the village began to disappear astonishingly, and the villagers' confusion turned into panic. The whole village was engulfed in the darkness of worry and fear. More alarming, whenever a young man disappeared, a strange wind would blow through the village, carrying an extreme cold and the sound of horrifying screams. However, no one had ever considered the possibility that a terrifying and malevolent entity was lurking in the form of the willow tree by the river. That willow tree was not just an ordinary tree but a sinister entity that lured and devoured people. One morning, the villagers discovered a horrifying sight. An old man hanged himself on the willow tree branch, his face ghastly, mouth agape with a long tongue that made the children scream in fear. Last night, I saw him wandering towards the willow tree. I called out many times, but he didn't respond. I thought he was just out for some fresh air, but who would have thought? One person fearfully spoke up. The village has long whispered that this willow tree has existed for a long time and has become a spirit. Another person continued. With so many disappearances happening, and now someone dead here, it's terrifying. Fear spread quickly throughout the village. People believed that the willow tree possessed an evil power and was causing the terrible events in the village. The previous rumors and warnings now became a horrifying reality. The villagers felt trapped between an uncontrollable threat and widespread panic. Every step, every movement was filled with fear, not knowing who would be the next victim of the willow tree's cruelty. The villagers decided to invite a shaman to exorcise the evil from the willow tree. The shaman came and performed rituals, burning sacred leaves and praying for peace to return. However, the disappearances continued, spreading further panic. During the rituals, the shaman discovered a terrifying secret. The willow tree was not just a living entity but a malevolent being that lured and devoured people. His exorcism rituals could not expel the evil residing in the willow tree. At this moment, the sound of police footsteps echoed on the narrow road, creating a hopeful tune in the village's grim atmosphere. The police came to investigate the mysterious disappearances, but all their efforts were in vain as they couldn't find any clues related to the missing people. Meanwhile, the shaman who had warned the villagers about the danger of the sinister willow tree informed them that he had invited a wise and talented monk who was meditating in the sacred forest. He believed that only this monk had the power to deal with the evil strength of the willow tree. The villagers felt both hopeful and worried upon hearing this. They were relieved to know that help was near, but they couldn't help feeling anxious about the mystery and danger of the disappearances. The villagers waited for the monk to arrive, their tension and anxiety growing each day as the disappearances continued. In the darkness of the quiet night, two policemen, men and non, stood waiting on the opposite bank of the river, their flashlights illuminating the calm water. They didn't believe in the story of the sinister willow tree, but their duty compelled them to be there. As night fell, the moonlight softly shone on the large willow tree by the river. Suddenly, the two policemen witnessed a horrifying sight. The old man who had hanged himself on the willow tree a few days ago appeared under the tree. They were utterly shocked, unable to believe their eyes. The old man had clearly died days ago, but now he emerged from within the willow tree and was gliding towards the village. They felt bewildered and terrified by the abnormal and supernatural nature of the situation. "That's Mr. Than, who died a few days ago," Min said. "How is this possible?" None replied. The two policemen hurried closer, and at that moment, they saw another man, seemingly Mr. Tan, a friend of Mr. Than, being led by Mr. Than towards the willow tree. In the darkness, Mr. Than's face was terrifying. He looked back with a haunting, sinister smile, while Mr. Tan followed with vacant eyes and a dazed expression. The two policemen felt a mixture of strangeness and horror, but they knew they had to intervene immediately. Without wasting time, they ran towards the willow tree.